using the developer tools. Firstly, let's recap. In the previous session, we have seen a set of common mistakes that we might encounter during the development, right? So then we have seen about using class instead of class name and on-click instead of on-click with the C capital. And we understood the reason why. So then we also understood about how to pass the event handlers. Another set of common mistakes were related to updating the state. So we understood that we shouldn't modify the state directly, right? And then also we shouldn't be calling the set state method from the render method, right? Otherwise it will result in a infinite loop, right? Similarly, if you try to invoke the event handler, even then it will result in an infinite loop, right? We understood the scenarios. We also understood that the set state method is asynchronous, right? So it will not update the state object immediately. So it will take time, it's asynchronous, okay? So we understood that React should, a component should return a single JSX element. So we shouldn't be returning multiple JSX elements from the component. So we understood that in case if we want to return multiple JSX elements, but we don't want to add another DOM node, so then we have to enclose it using the fragment, right? So we also understood that the props are read-only, so you shouldn't be updating the props. Okay, so these are the various things that we have covered in the previous session. Coming to today's session. In today's session, we are going to see about debugging and the various tools for debugging. So we have browser developer tools using which we can select and change the HTML, CSS and the JavaScript. We can also check the responsiveness of the application using the browser developer tools. Another set of tools are React developer tools using which we can inspect the components. We are going to cover about these in today's session. To set the code playground for today's session, you need to run this command and run npm install. With this, all the dependencies will get installed. Okay, so now, firstly, what is debugging? So debugging is actually the process of finding and fixing the bugs in the code. Generally, when we are doing development, right? So there are chances that we might add some bugs in the code, that is some issues in the code. Okay, so we need to find them and fix them appropriately, right? The process of finding them and fixing them is nothing but called as debugging, right? So to ease the process of debugging, there are various tools available. There are browser developer tools and also there are React developer tools using which we can do debugging, and the process of debugging will become way more easier, right? So let's understand about these tools, starting with the browser developer tools. So what are browser developer tools? So as the name suggests, so these are the tools provided by the browser using which we can debug the application that we have opened in the browser. So let's say we have opened a web application in the browser. So to debug that particular application, we can make use of these browser developer tools. Okay. So when it comes to browser developer tools, using this, we can do various things like we can view the source code, that is the HTML, CSS and JavaScript. We can change the CSS styles. We can view the console log messages. Like this, there are a lot of things that we can achieve using the browser developer tools. Few of them we have covered over the sessions. So in today's session, we are going to see all of them together. Okay, so let's first understand about these browser developer tools. So let's see how to open these first. Okay, so for that, so when you open a web application in the Chrome browser, right? So on the top, there'll be 3 dots. That's the Chrome menu, right? There you can see on the top, we have 3 dots, right? So if you click on that, so you'll have a list of options. So one of which is more tools. So if you click on that, so there you can see at the end, we have developer tools. So by selecting the developer tools, so the developer tools will open. Okay, this is one way. So making use of the Chrome menu, and then through that, more tools, and from more tools, there are developer tools. By clicking on that, you'll be able to open the developer tools. This is one way. There's another way. So in the web application itself, just right click on the mouse. Then you will get an option saying inspect at the end. There you can see, right? There's back, reload, there are a lot of options. Along with that, at the ending, we have an inspect option. So select that option. So with this also, the developer tools will open. So when the developer tools open, so you'll be able to see a screen in this manner. Okay, let's have a look at this. So here you can see we have opened an application here. Okay, so now let's just open the Chrome menu. So here you can see we have 3 dots here on the top, right? So click on these 3 dots. So then a lot of options will be available for you. So here there is a more tools option. So if you select this option, at the end we have developer tools. Okay, can you see? So select this developer tools. So with this, the developer tools will open. Okay, so these are nothing but the developer tools. Okay, so this is one way. Once you're done, you can close it by clicking on this close button. Another way to open the developer tools is just right click here. Okay, and then at the ending you can see there is an inspect option. So select this inspect option. So even then the developer tools will open in this manner. Okay, clear? So these are the various ways using which we can open the developer tools. Now let's understand the developer tools in a step-by-step manner. So when we open the developer tools, you can see there are various panels present. So there you can see on the top we have elements, console, audit, sources. These are called panels. Like this we have various panels available. Okay, so in today's session, we are going to cover about elements panel and also about the console panel. Okay, there are various others. We'll be mostly using the elements panel and the console panel, which we are going to cover in today's session. So let's understand the elements panel first. Okay, so in the elements panel, using this, we can view the HTML, the CSS code here. Okay, so we can see the HTML code and the corresponding styles that have been applied for each and every element. Okay, so also we can change the styles applied, change the HTML using this elements panel. Okay, so in the elements panel, we can view or we can even change the HTML and the styles that have been applied to a single element at a time. Okay, clear? So here you can see that in the elements panel, you can see the various source code, right? To select a particular element, so there on the top beside the elements panel, there you can see there's an option with an arrow and then the box, right? So using that, so you can actually click on a particular element and select it. Okay, so we'll have a look at this. Okay. So as we understood, when it comes to this browser developer tools, so there are various panels available. So elements, there's console, there's sources like this. There are various panels available. So firstly, we are understanding about the elements panel. In the elements panel, we can view the source code here. Okay, so there's a lot of source code, HTML code, and also we can change the HTML and the styles that have been applied. Okay, so for that, firstly, we need to select a particular element. So for that, here you can see beside the elements, there is an option, there's an arrow with a box. So let's click on this. So after clicking on this, you can choose the element that you want to select. So here, let's say I want to select the heading, counter heading. So I can click on this. So with this, the corresponding source code will get highlighted. Can you see that? So this is actually the source code, right? H1 class equal to heading counter. So appropriately, that particular thing got highlighted. So we have selected this. With this, the corresponding source code, the HTML code has been highlighted. Okay, so in this way we can select a particular element. So how do we do it? So here on the top, just click on it and then choose a particular element, and then appropriately you can see the corresponding HTML code has been highlighted. Okay, similarly you can try with another one. I'm clicking on this, choosing this, and the corresponding element got highlighted. There you can see. Okay, so this is the way how we can view the HTML code corresponding to each and every element. Okay. So next, you can actually change the HTML content with the help of this elements panel. Okay, you just need to double tap and then change the text content. So let's see how. Okay, so here you can see we have the counter. So firstly, we'll select the element by clicking on this. I'm selecting this element. So now let's say I want to change this counter to say count. Okay, so here I want to change this text. So I'll double tap. So by double tapping, I can now change the content, say count, in this manner. Okay, so and I'll press enter and you can see it appropriately got reflected. Again, if you want to change, you can just click here, double tap, and then you can write whatever you want to do. Okay, so say counter in this manner. Okay, so you can change it. So you just need to double tap and you can change the text content. Okay, clear? So we have seen about how to change the HTML text content using the elements panel, right? You just need to double tap and change the content. So next, let's see about the styles panel. Okay, so below the elements panel, you can see there's styles, there's computed, event listeners, and so on, right? So right now, let's understand about the styles pane. Okay, so this will actually show all the CSS rules that are applied to the element, okay, to a particular element. So what are the various CSS styles applied? So that list will be available here in the styles pane. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So here you can see at the bottom there is a styles pane. There are various panes here. So one of which is styles pane. Okay. So we have selected a HTML element, right? So here you can see heading. So here in the styles pane, the corresponding the CSS rule sets that have been applied will be listed here. You can see there's heading and then there is H1. So these got applied to this particular heading. Okay. So you can view the CSS rule sets that have been applied with the help of this styles pane. Okay. So we understood about the styles pane, using which we can see the CSS rule sets that have been applied to the particular element that we have selected. Okay. So now there you can see, right? So for the counter, we have one thing is heading, another one is H1, which have been applied. So here what you can do is you can change the property values. So let's say for the heading, we have some color, right? Previously, we have some random color in this manner. You can actually change this according to your choice. Okay. You can change the styles and you can see the output then and there itself. Okay. So let's have a look at this. Okay, so here let's say in the heading, so there's some color that's been applied, right? Now let's say you want to change this. So you can just double tap here and you can change it. Okay, so here you can see I'm changing this. Say I want to write one second. Okay, let's say I want to change it here. So the color, I've just double tapped it there and then I'm going to write the color that I want. Say I want to write orange. And then there you can see it has been appropriately reflected. Similarly, you can change another color, say blue. Okay. There you can see blue. You just need to double tap it here and then you have to appropriately write the value that you want to update. Okay, say now I'll just add here. I'm going to double tap here. So you should be careful about where you're double tapping. And then let's say here I'm writing orange. Okay, there you can see there are a list of options also. So then you can provide that and appropriately it will get reflected. Okay. So we understood about how to change a value for a particular property when it comes to the CSS rule sets, right? Okay, so here you can see that we can add inline styles too. Okay, so for a particular element, so we can add some inline styles there. Okay, there you can see we have written style equal to border colon 2 pixels, solid green, and so on. So like this, we can add some inline styles to an element and you can see the output. This is all for you to test and try out and have a look at how it exactly reflects all these changes, right? So when we are building the application, there are chances that some color we didn't like it, right? So we want to just try it out then and there itself and then update the source code, right? So in such scenarios, to try out all of these things, you can make use of this styles pane and appropriately update and check. Okay, so there you can see we added some inline style as border 2 pixels, solid green, and there you can see around that particular heading element, we have a border, a green color border of 2 pixels width, right? Okay, so let's try this out too. So here, let's say for this particular element, we want to change. So there you can see we have heading. So we want to add some inline style. So how do we do it? Just double tap here and you can start writing. So say style equal to, what do we want to add? We want to add some border. Okay, say we border. Okay, the width is say 2 pixels. So border colon 2 pixels. And then coming to the color, it is solid green. Okay, so solid green. Okay, we have specified the inline styles here and just press enter and there you can see the change. So a green color border has been applied around the heading element. So and even in the styles pane, you can observe that that particular styling got reflected here. You can see elements.style. This refers to the inline styling. Okay, so there you can see the border 2 pixels solid green has reflected here too. Okay, so these are the various styles that have been applied to this particular element. Okay, that we have selected. Okay, so we have seen this output, right? Okay. So you can see that as you scroll down in the styles pane, so you can view the box model of that particular element. So what is the width, what's the border, so what's the size, all these details you'll be able to view with the help of this box model. Okay, so let's have a look at that. So here you can see in the styles pane as we go down. So here we have a box model. So you can see the margin and then the border that we have applied. Since we have applied 2 pixels, so that's the reason you can see we got 2 here. Okay, and then the corresponding padding and the size of it, right? So you can see even when we are hovering off it, so there you can see this, and then there's some padding, and then there is border. So those are getting selected, right? There is some margin. So that margin got highlighted in this manner. Okay. So like this, you'll be able to understand the various things that have been applied to a particular element, right? So now let's say instead of 2 pixels, let's modify this, say 3 pixels. Okay. So I've updated and you can see here in the border, it's 3 pixels and then you can see that. Okay. So it's getting highlighted, right? Okay. So using this box model, you can understand the various things present around that element, get an understanding about the element. Okay. So here what do? We select an element. Okay, we can view the HTML content corresponding to that. You can change the text content and do various things. And then using the styles pane, you can see the various styles that have been applied to that element, right? At the same time, you can add some inline styles. You can change the property values. And using the box model, you can get an understanding about the margin, about the padding, about the size of the element, various details regarding that element. Okay. So we are done with this, right? Okay, another pane beside the styles is computed pane. Okay, so using this, we can see the actual CSS properties that have been applied to an element, right? So in the styles pane, we'll see the list of rule sets that have been applied. Okay, the list of classes in fact. Okay, so we'll see the list of classes that have been applied, right? So maybe due to cascading, some of the rules will not be applied, right? So to see the final list of rules, the properties and the corresponding values that have been applied to an element, you can make use of the computed pane. Okay, let's have a look at that. So in the styles pane, we'll have the list of classes that will be applied to that element. So in the computed pane, you'll be able to actually see the list of the various properties that have been applied. Okay, as we understood during the CSS cascading or some other properties, some of these might not be applied, right? So you can see the list of all the properties that have been applied. So here you can see the option show all and group, right? So if you untick this option, you'll be able to see only the list of options that have been applied. So there you can see, right? So these are the properties and the corresponding values that have been applied to this particular element, right? So if you click on show all, so it will show all the properties. Okay, so even the ones that haven't applied, but all the properties that refer to this element, but the ones that are darker in color are the ones that have been actually applied. Okay, clear? So using the computed pane, we can see the final list of properties and the corresponding values that have been applied to the element. Okay, so let's say you have built an application, you have some elements. Okay, so let's say the output is not as you expected. So then what you can do, the styling, let's say the styling is not as you expected. So you'll come to the styles pane, to the computed pane. You'll see what all classes have been applied, what all rules have been applied. So appropriately, you can update the values here and see whether you're getting the expected styling or not. And then appropriately, you'll be updating the source code, right? So in this way, you can debug various things and fix things which according to your expectations, right? Okay. So you understood this, right? So in the computed pane, we can see the list of properties and the values that have been finally applied to that element. Okay. So what you could do is you can just build your own application. For that, you can make use of this browser developer tools and check the styles, check the computed pane and see what's been applied, right? You can do all of these things. So you'll be able to understand all of these things when you try these out. Okay, so do try these out, open an application that you have built and inspect it and understand the various things there. Okay, clear? So there you can see the actual styles that have been applied. So in the styles pane, we'll have the list of classes that are respective classes of that particular element. Whereas in the computed pane, we'll see the actual styles that have been applied to the element. Okay, there you can see. Right, so if you click on the show all, so it will show all the styles that have been applied, but finally, the actual styles which have been applied will be darker in color. Okay, clear? So we understood about the various panes and panels here, right? So we have seen about the elements panel, using which we can view the HTML code. We can see the CSS styles that have been applied. We can even change them, right? So we understood about this. Now let's proceed further and see how we can check the responsiveness of an application using the developer tools. Okay, so generally the applications that we build should be responsive, right? That means that in various devices they should look proper, right? So that we have to ensure. We have seen how to build responsive websites also, right? Now we also need to check the responsiveness. Okay, we have built responsive applications, but we have to check whether they are responsive or not, whether they are looking good in various devices or not. So for that, do you bring all the applications with you and check each of it? That's difficult, right? Let's say you have built it for some Samsung phone, iPhone, iPad, and let's say for some other OnePlus phone and a desktop, right? So you can't be having all these devices in front of you and you can't take that device, okay, open, okay, now it's looking good. You can't do that, right? So then you need a way using which you can check the responsiveness of the application, right? So for that, you can make use of the developer tools. So in this, in the Chrome, okay, in Google Chrome browser, there is a device mode feature. Okay, using this, we can check the application for various device resolutions. Okay, for mobile, for tablet, for desktop, like this, we can check the application responsiveness for the various device resolutions. Okay, so let's see an example for this. Okay, so there on the top beside the elements panel, you can see there's an option, right? So there's a phone and there's a tablet like this, you can see. So that is actually the device mode option. So if you're selected, so then you can see there, okay, there's a drop down Galaxy S5 like this. There'll be various devices available, and also you can enter the pixels that you want to check, right? There you can see. So there are various devices available. You can select it and see how the application looks like in that particular device. Similarly, there's another option of setting your own pixels, okay, and see how the device looks in that, okay, how the application looks in that, okay. So let's try this out, okay. So as we understood, checking responsiveness of an application is very, very important. So for that, we can make use of the device mode feature present in Google Chrome. It's present in the Google Chrome. So here on the top, you can see toggle device toolbar. Select this. So with this, you can see a list of options here, right? So the first thing is the list of devices in which you want to check. Say, let's say Galaxy S5. So in Galaxy S5, so our application will look something like this, okay? Let's say another iPhone X, okay, in this it will look like this, okay. Similarly, you can try something else or say some iPad, right? So you can view how our application looks like in the various devices, okay. So with this, you can check the responsiveness of the application, right? Clear? So when we are building responsive applications, we need to check how they look in various devices. So you can make use of this device mode feature. Similarly, you can provide the pixels here too, okay. So you can enter the various pixels. Firstly, select the responsiveness mode, and then you can enter the pixels here. Say I'm entering 500 cross, say 1800, right? So there you can see, right? Let's do upside, right? Say 1200, like this, okay? You can see that, right? Okay. So in this way, we can check the responsiveness of the application using the device mode feature. Okay, so we are done with the elements panel. Okay, we have seen about the styles pane, about the computed pane. We also understood about how to check the responsiveness of the application, right? Now, let's proceed further and understand about the console panel. Okay, so coming to the console. Okay, so in the Chrome developer tools, so there is a panel called console. There you can see beside elements we have console. So using this console, we can actually easily work with the JavaScript code. Okay, so you can see the log statements here, right? At the same time, we can run some JavaScript code also here. Okay, so we actually have used it frequently through our development, right? So just go to the console panel, and there you can view the logged messages, right? If we added any console log statements in our code, so you'll be able to view them here. At the same time, you can actually write the JavaScript code also. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So here we are done with this. Now to come back from the device mode feature, you have to just select this. With this, we'll come back from the device mode feature. Now beside the elements, we have another panel which is console. Okay, so this is the console panel. Okay, so this is particularly used to view the console log statements, and also you can write some JavaScript code here. Okay, say a equal to 5, right? And then say b equal to 6, and then let's say a plus b. Okay, there you can see, right? In this way, you can write the JavaScript code also here. Okay, now what we'll do is, so we'll write some console log statement in us, okay, and then we'll check whether it's properly reflecting or not. So where shall we add? Okay, so let's say in the render, we want to display the count. Okay, so here in the index.js file, so in the counter application, we are adding a console log statement where we want to display the count. Okay, so the count is in this manner. Okay. So we are done it, and then you can see the server is running. So now, okay, so now if you increase, okay, so there you can see we have different console log statements that's printing, right? And appropriately the count is also being displayed, right? So the console log statements that we add in the code, you can view the result here in the console panel. Okay, clear? So we understood about this, right? How to view the log messages and also how to run the JavaScript. So there you can see we added a console log statement in this manner, and we were able to see this, right? Okay, and also we understood that we can write the JavaScript code here, right? So it's just like an RELP where you can just run the JavaScript code here in the console itself. Okay, we have seen this output too. Okay, so we are done with understanding the console panel also, right? So these are the various browser developer tools. There are some more. There you can see there's network panel, there's application panel, which we'll be covering later on. Okay, so right now for our development, these would be sufficient. Okay, so another set of developer tools are React developer tools. So using these developer tools, we can debug a React application. That is, given an application is using React.js, to debug such application, we can make use of the React developer tools. So these React developer tools is actually a Chrome extension. Okay, so firstly, let's see how to add these React developer tools to our browser. So since we have mentioned it's a Chrome extension, you can use these React developer tools only in the Google Chrome browser. Okay, so just go to Google, search Chrome extensions. Then on the top, you'll be able to find this link saying Chrome Web Store. Just go to that website. So there you can search for the React developer tools. So on the top, you'll find React developer tools. Just click on it, right? And then you will have an option to add it to the Chrome browser. There you can see add it to Chrome. Click on it. With this, these developer tools will be added to our browser. Okay, clear? So let's do these steps. So firstly, I'll search for the Chrome extensions. Okay, so you can see Chrome extensions. So on the top, you can find Chrome Web Store. Just go to that. Okay, and you can search for the React developer tools here. Okay, React developer tools. So I've searched for it. So now we'll get a list of tools. So on the top, you can see we have React developer tools. Just select this. Here, there's an add to Chrome button. Click on it. Okay, and then you can see I'm adding that extension. So with this here on the top, you can see that you can use this extension by clicking on this icon. So all this information is available. So we can make use of this extension now. Okay, clear? So we are done adding this React developer tools to our Chrome browser, right? So the next thing is that we can make use of this extension. So firstly, once you add this particular extension, just refresh the page. Okay, so if the page is already open, and then on the top, by clicking on that React icon, so you can make use of this React developer tools. Okay, clear? So let's do that. So here on the top, you can see under the extensions, we have React developer tools, right? So since we have just used it now, right? We have just installed it now, just refresh the page. Okay, so here we have React developer tools. You can see that it's turned into red. So once it turns into red, it means that we can make use of this particular React extension. Okay, so this page is using the development build of React. All this information is there. Okay, clear? So Now, what you could do is you can inspect the element, that is open the browser developer tools. So there a new two tabs will get added. There you can see on the top, component and profiler. Components and profiler tabs have been added. So using this, we can debug our React applications. Okay. So once we install the React developer tools, so you'll get two tabs, components and profiler, so to our browser developer tools. Okay, clear? So firstly, let's understand about the components. So using the components tab, we can see all the components in the tree structure, right? So now in the app.js, so app is actually a component. So within that, we have a counter component. So you can see that tree structure there. There's app, and then within the app, we are making use of the counter. So that tree structure is available there. So you can view all the components and the corresponding tree structure there. Okay, clear? So now let's try this out. Okay, this is our application. So here you can see on the top, so the React developer tools is enabled. It's red in color, so it means that it's enabled. So now if you open the developer tools just by doing inspect, so here on the top, so you'll find elements, console, network, application, right? And there are two other tabs also. There's components, and beside that there is profiler also. Okay, in this manner. So firstly, let's understand about components. So components is also added using the React developer tools. Okay, so here in the components tab, you can see we have a hierarchy of the components that are being used. So firstly, we have the app component, and within the app, we are using the counter component. So we have that tree structure here. Okay, you can see that here. So in this way, we can see all the components in the tree structure. So we can actually modify the component properties also. Okay, so there you can see, right? So in the counter component, so we have a state. So within the state, we have the count as 10. Okay, so here you can see that we updated the count as 10, right? And then appropriately, the UI got updated as 10. Okay, so in this way, we can select the props of the component and we can appropriately modify them. Okay, let's do that. So using this component tab, we can even modify the properties, okay, the props. Okay, let's say here in the state, the count is 0. Now I'm updating it as 10. For that, I just need to double tap and then I have to just enter. So with this, appropriately, my UI got updated, right? There you can see we have the 10 now. Okay, so in this manner, we can even change the props, we can change the values and check the output. Okay. So we understood about how to make use of this components tab, okay, which is part of the React developer tools. So firstly, you can view the entire hierarchy. So you can understand that. At the same time, you can also modify the properties and have a look at it. Okay. So in today's session, we understood about debugging. So we have seen how we can make use of the various developer tools to ease the process of debugging.